name is Jamie. I'm an educator at Mequon Nature Preserve. Thank you for joining me on our first virtual bug walk. We're going to go over each and every one of these different orders, so let's head on down to the first order that we're going to be covering. Now, the first order that we will be talking about is arguably my favorite. It is Odonata, or the Odonids. This comprises the Dragonflies and the Damselflies. Odonata is actually ancient Greek for the toothed ones because they have very, very powerful mandibles, which is their jaw, which helps them devour their prey very quickly. Looking here, we'll see all these guys right down here. They're much thinner. These are the Damselflies. Although they are in the same order, Dragonflies and Damselflies have some different characteristics. Damselflies are much thinner, they're smaller, whereas the Dragonflies are much more stout. We actually look at their eyes. Their eyes are connected for Dragonflies, except for club tails, whereas with Damselflies, they look a lot more like a hammerhead shark, so their eyes are separate. Another thing, when the Dragonflies or a Damselfly lands, they do something different with their wings. So when these guys land, just as you see here, their wings will actually stay horizontal and spread out like an airplane, whereas the Damselflies, when they land, their wings will actually close up, except for one species known as spread wings, which will actually have them at a 45-degree angle, so a little give and take there. Odonids are fantastic hunters because every part of their body is designed to help them catch prey. They have compound eyes, which means they are made up of many individual lenses. Damselflies will have anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000, whereas Dragonflies can have up to 30,000 lenses on their eyes. This gives them very, very good eyesight, and it helps detect both prey and predators. On top of that, they also have simple light-sensing organs in the middle by their eyes, known as ocelli. And when I say they're simple light-sensing organs, it's not like our eyeballs where they actually generate and create an image that we can see. What it really does is just help them detect changes in light and movement. So the best example I can give for you is if you were to look up at a source of light and close your eyes and then move your hand back and forth, you're going to see something moving. Even though your eyes are closed, you're going to detect some movement there because it is just the change of light is telling your brain, okay, there's something moving because the light is touching me 1 minute and now there's something in front of me and now it's gone. So they have 3 of those that are usually right in between the eyes, and that helps them detect even if something is behind them. And so when you have a very powerful eye that can see a very complex image and you have simple organs that are always telling you if the light is changing, this gives them like perfect 360-degree view. So it is very hard for something to sneak up on them, and it's very hard for something to sneak past them. Moving on to their wings, both Dragonflies and Damselflies have 4 wings. They have 2 in the front, which are called the forewings, 2 in the back, the hind wings. Each one can be moved independently. They actually have an ancient wing design compared to other insects, or if you were to look at birds, their wing design is actually older, but in my opinion it's actually better because they can fly like helicopters. Since they can move each wing individually, they can go forwards, they can go backwards, up, down. They can even fly upside down if they need to. They're only going to do that if they're trying to catch prey, but if they have to, they can fly upside down. It's fantastic. On top of that, they are very, very fast in the insect world. The Damselflies are a little bit more nimble. They're more of a hovering flyer. They're not darting around. You might see these a lot of times if you're fishing or if you're on a kayak, you'll see them just hovering and gliding around very, very casually, whereas Dragonflies, they're flying. They can go real fast. In fact, the top speeds for them can be anywhere from 30 to 40 miles per hour in the larger species. So they can go much faster than we can. And to complement their flying abilities are their long, slender bodies, which make them aerodynamic. Both Dragonflies and Damselflies have 10 segments in their abdomen. So being insects, as I had discussed earlier, all insects have a head, a thorax, and an abdomen, 3 parts of their body. The abdomen for both damsels and dragonflies is split up into 10 segments. If you were to count them, you want to start from the end tip, that is the segment 10, and as you work your way down, you'll get to the last one near the thorax, which is segment 1. Why are these important? Well, a lot of dragonflies look alike. There are many different colors and there are many different designs, but there are many dragonflies. So sometimes you have two species that have similar size, similar structure, and similar color. So if you really wanted to figure out what species you have, one of the best ways to figure it out is to look at their segments, because they have certain designs that might match up with, let's say, segment 6 has two blue spots on it for this species. Even if you have two dragonflies that have blue spots on them, maybe only this species has spots on that segment. So one of the best ways to find out what you're dealing with may be to look at the segments. And yet again, another body part that helps with hunting is their legs. So if you actually have a close-up view of their legs, you'll see that there are many spikes that are jutting out from under them. When they capture their prey, they close all their legs around it, and these spikes come together and it's forming what's called a basket. So whatever is captured in those legs, there's so many different poking spikes going in every direction, they can't wiggle out because they're stuck in that basket. So that helps them hold on to their prey until they either eat it on a perch, so if they land somewhere they want to eat it. Others eat on the wing, so as they're flying, so if they want to hold on to it, depending on what they want to do, those legs make sure that whatever they've captured stays within those legs. So now that we've discussed all the adaptations that dragonflies have that help them catch and eat their prey, what exactly is it that they're eating? Pretty much anything that they can. In the insect world, they'll be eating moss, they'll be butterflies, bees, wasps, flies. Anything that's flying in the air, they will try to eat it. If you've ever been to a pond or something, I don't know if you've ever given a little rock a toss in the air, if there are dragonflies nearby, they might actually fly over and look at it because they see that movement, they see a small thing flying, that predatory instinct kicks in and they fly over because they might think, hey, this is potential food. There's even been extreme cases in northern Wisconsin. There's a dragonfly there known as a dragon hunter. It's a massive 3-inch clubtail, and they've been known to take down and eat hummingbirds. So an insect eating a bird. It's pretty crazy. And so I guess with dragonflies, the golden rule is if they can eat it, they will. So this is actually the exoskeleton left behind from a green darner. So when he was a teenager or a nymph, this is what he looked like under the water. Some of his legs have fallen off. But he's actually crawling around in the water, jetting around. On the front here, you'll see this is called his labium, is that little shovel-like pale thing on his mouth, and that actually extends outward really far, and he uses that to grab his prey. And so what he'll actually, when he grows up, when they molt, there's a hole in the back you can see. He rips out of that, and his wings unfurl. They pump their blood into them, which actually makes the wings spread out, and then they retract it back for when they dry out. And so this guy turns into these guys right here, these green darners, which are probably the biggest ones you'd see in our neck of the woods here. Personally, I love dragonflies and damselflies. I think they're a fantastic species. They're definitely one of the coolest of the insect world. And I think that we do owe them some respect because they are a very successful species. They have been here much longer than we have. In fact, they've been here much longer than the dinosaurs. They were there before the dinosaurs, and they have remained relatively unchanged since then. So they are very successful. And even though there are many species you can see in my hand, so this is your green darner, they are large, and there are even larger ones than the green darner. They are a pretty sizable insect. Their ancestors were much larger, and those certainly would demand respect from anyone. Back then, there was much more oxygen, and so their bodies were much larger. And they are actually known as griffin flies back then. And they had a wingspan of about 27 inches, at least the largest that we have in the fossil record was 27 inches long, which would be the equivalent of something of this size. So, when you saw the green darner in my hand, his relative, here's my foot, here's my whole leg here pretty much. You can see just how big this guy was. They would have no problem swooping by and picking up something much, much larger than a mosquito, that's for sure. So I think we owe some respect to these fantastic organisms. So that pretty much wraps up episode 1 of our bug walk. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm glad to know that there are other people out there with an interest in insects and bugs. As spring rolls around, the dragonflies are going to start emerging from the ponds and the wetlands. So if you're hiking the preserves, keep an eye out because you're going to start seeing these wonderful organisms flying around. And everything on here, you'll see they're all very dull colors. When dragonflies are pinned, they lose all their pigmentation, they lose all the color. So these guys are usually normally fluorescent blues and greens, reds, spots, stripes. They all have very beautiful designs, and so when they're actually out there flying around, they're going to look a lot different. They're going to look very, very colorful. So if any of you want to get any pictures or anything, we would love to see them on social media. Please send them our way. We love our Odinets, and we're very interested in seeing who's going to be calling the preserve home this year. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in episode 2.